Now let us see what are the general contents in the Vedas. Basically, in all the sections, 4 divisions of the Vedas, there will be a Samhita or the basic Veda mantra compilation. This may have been sourced from many rishis, and in a Veda mantra, the basic principle is for every mantra there is a rishi, chandas and devata. The rishi is the one who got or to whom the mantra is revealed. The mantra is made or revealed in a chandas. Chandas is nothing but a meter. We will see the details later. There are chandas with specific number of letters to give specific vibrations to the mantra in a very clear fashion. A mantra is always on a devata or a deity which represents the Paramatma, the ultimate soul. Therefore, normally we find that during any of the functions, we thank the rishis during Nyasam. Normally, we touch our head when we utter the rishi's name. We touch the portion above our mouth when we recite the chandas name, and we keep our hands on our heart to remember the devata. For example, if you start with, say, a simple thing is to say Vishnu Sahasranama, Asya Sri Vishnu Sahasranama Stotra Maha Mantrasya Bhagavan VedaVyaso Rishihi, we will touch our head to remember VedaVyasa. Anushtup Chandaha, we touch the part above our mouth, that is normally the mustache region. Then we touch our heart and say Sri Mahavishnu Paramatma Sriman Narayano Devata. So this is a part of thankfulness that, and this procedure reminds us that always thank the Rishi and keep him in his memory, that is on your head. Utter the mantra with proper meter of the chandas, so be thorough, that's an indication. The devata whom you worship should always be in your heart. So this comes in almost all the recitations, pujas, etc. While reciting Rudram, we say Asya Sri Rudradyaya Prashna Mahamantrasya Agora Rishihi Anushtup Chandaha Sankarshana Murti Swarupo Yosavaditya Sayesha Rudro Devata. This is very common as we go along and recite. Similarly, you would remember the Nyasam when we perform Gayatri, or you take Lalita Sahasranamam. So this is a very common rule or a procedure that we recite the mantras with thankfulness. Say, if you take Rudram, Rudram has been compiled by Agora Rishi. But if you read the Bhashyam for Rudra, written by great Mahan Sri Anna Subramanya Iyer, he would go to the first chapter and give the Rishi Chandas Devata for all the mantras. I would recommend everybody to read that book. I think it is also available in English. For example, Namaste Rudra Manyava Udoda Ishave Namaha is attributed to Rishi Bharadwaja. So, while compiling a Samhita level, the mantras revealed from various rishis are put together and we make a full book. Therefore, to understand what is the rishi, chandas and devata for each part of the mantra, one needs to look at the Anubandham which is written for the Samhita. Anubandham is the book that explains the various aspects contained in Samhita. For example, of all the Samhita books that we have referred to for compilation, the book by Padma Bhushan Sri Satwalekar gives the Rishi Chandas Devata reference for all the mantras in the Taittiriya Samhita. That is about one part is Samhita. Then there could be additional books that talks about the Karma Kanda. Karma is the procedures and the mantras for rituals. In addition to these mantras, Great saints have written their own sutra or principles which should be adopted for performance of various Vedic rites and sometimes even pujas or japa. The two major sutras that are followed in India are one Apastamba Sutra by Apastamba Rishi. Another, which is equally famous, is by Bodhayana Rishi called Bodhayana Sutra. So they give lot of rules and regulations for one's living, what should be performed, what is the order of performance of the various rituals and ceremonies. And they also give sutras or mantras in the form of or slokas which help you to remember the core process. For example, when we referred a book, we have compiled a book on Shiva Puja called Sivastuti. So there is a well-written formula for how the Mahanyasam is defined or the order in which the Nyasam is defined by Bodhayana Rishi. Then there are other sutras which help, principles which help the understanding of the Veda mantras and principles. At the higher level, one good example is there is a Brahma Sutra for which a detailed bhashya or explanation and commentary has been written by Sri Adi Shankaracharya. Then you have Upanishads. Upanishads are the part of Vedanta, which is when you come to the Veda, end of Veda, the last part that is to be realized is the oneness or your identity with the Parabrahma. So the Upanishads has question and answers between a student and this guru. That is the ultimate, the intellectual part that leads to one's self-realization. For all the Veda mantras, sutras, commentaries, translations are written by great pandits and scholars. In fact, the basic book from which we have copied the Taittiriya Samhita is a book. The author of that book has compiled also the commentaries by great Sri Chayanacharya, who has written Bhashyam for and commentaries for all the four Vedas. When you look at the basic Veda mantras, the Veda mantras are the foundation of what we call as four yoga margas. That is, the path yoga is your unity and aligning to an oneness, and the path could be karma, bhakti, jnana or Raja Yoga. The basic Vedas have all the foundations for these. Now, each of the Vedas may have its own branches straight to a rishi or a group of rishi. As they move along, the variations in rendering occurs due to different climatic and regional conditions or based on the source language of that area. Vedas have also been supplemented by additional revelations made to the rishis and saints. So, we find because of the regional and climatic difference, there are variations to the sound, adaptation and the grammar rules. That is one of the reasons there are a number of schools, branches, what is commonly referred to as a shaka by Vedic scholars. There are also slight differences in the style of rendering. We are from Yajurveda and especially Krishna Yajurveda. The Yajurveda itself has two main divisions. One is Krishna Yajurveda and the other is Shukla Yajurveda. Now, there are more to the Vedas of what evolved from the revelations to the rishis. There is Ayurveda, which is the science of life, which today you see has blossomed into a great field of practice of medicine. There is Dhanurveda, which is an art of the bow. Originally, we have come across notes that says even Brahmins should be well versed in Dhanurveda. But later on, interpretations also come in that a Brahmin is not supposed to take up any arms because he has already chosen a path towards his own realization. Therefore, no arms shall be taken or the Veda pertaining to that shall be learned. Vedas also have given a lot of science and development of astrology, astronomy. The astrology part is something more like a diagnostic science for a person to understand how the planetary positions influence him during birth. That has got a major effect. And he should be using this as a guidelines. So, a famous practitioner used to say astrology is like a diagnostic. You choose to go to a doctor only when you have certain symptoms or illness. If you have a good control over your health, you should manage it yourself. The other part is astronomy. Ancient Indians had a great understanding of astronomy and the movement of the planets, that a panchang, an almanac which is cast much before the beginning of the year, predicts a lunar and solar eclipse to the accurate seconds much before the eclipse would occur. Then there are sastras which deal with Artha Sastra. Artha means wealth in Sanskrit. Vastu Sastra, which is the science of place. Then there are Shilpa Sastra. So there are countless contributions that has been made by the revelations of these rishis, which has been documented or passed on from generation to generation, so that people can choose and shape their jobs, their destinies, or their path to the realization. During the initial stages of Corona, my Siddha Guru Sri Shivakumar Anna had sent a WhatsApp message to his students, clearly indicating that we can take Kabasura Kudineer or Ilavembu Kudineer for the cure of Corona. Not only this, there was a Siddha medicine book which was published many years ago. There is a page that says Koronavukku Marundu, that means medicine for Corona. How is that the Siddhas were aware or they became conscious of this coronavirus that will one day come and shake us up? My niece, who studied Bharatanatyam for 6 years in Kalakshetra, she says that for every mudra, there is a clear Sanskrit sloka that describes how the mudra needs to be used and the context of usage. Similarly, we met a Stapati, who is a person who constructs temples or identifies locations for any holy spiritual process. The interesting thing he said was, if I have to carve out a Saraswati idol, there is already a sloka in which Saraswati is described. But he says, I need to meditate on Saraswati and utter slokas continuously so that the final form of Saraswati that will come and get onto the idol in a proper shape itself will be revealed to me. Let me also share an incident which I got to know from a very senior level manager who was working with Bata for a long time. Nearly 100 years back, a rich man hunted, or his staff hunted, an animal. The hide of that animal was supposed to be of very high value, and they took the hide to a shoemaker, whom we normally call as cobblers. The shoemaker had a look at it and he returned the hide saying that, I will not make any shoe for you, sir. The animal, as it was hunted, was struggling for its life. The pain and the sorrow that the animal has gone through has its impression on its skin. If I would ever make a shoe and give it to you, you will always fall sick, or you will face a lot of incidents of unhappiness or misfortune. And he returned the hide. What is that state that though we look at cobblers as to be a menial or a very normal profession, he has been trained to get into such a level of consciousness that he becomes aware of what is right for him or wrong for him to do professionally, and he refuses directly an order which would have got him good money hundreds of years back. But he refuses. He has his own professional code of conduct and ethics. Now, this has come from years of practice that he has taken from his father or his senior. So, we wonder, across various professions, class status in the society, people have followed very specific codes of conduct, professional ethics, irrespective of their status. And these all have come in as Shastras, rules, codes of conduct, right from the Vedas, Upavedas. So, let us ponder what is the greatness of these Vedas which has given rise to a code of conduct and living for people of various class professions. It's amazing. Perhaps this is the heart of Sanatana Dharma.